University Leadership Session. My name is Dr. Alencia Bona. I'm the Dean of the Ross College of Business, as well as I serve as the Executive Director of the Leadership Center. I am so excited this morning to have a friend and a colleague with us on this morning, Dr. Martina Pong. She's beginning a wonderful series, and I'm asking you to please support her. And this series is dealing with our financial health and our financial strength as we develop stronger financial acumen. It's called Empowering Your Financial Future. And if you will look at if you saw the slide, it will take place, of course, on the October 22nd, November 12th. Then we'll go into the new year on January 14th and also on February 4th. The QR code is available, but if you missed the QR code, feel free to go to our website and we'll be happy to register you for that time. Now, for the formal introduction of our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Martina Pong serves as the department chair of the Accounting, Finance, and Risk Management departments in Franklin University's College of Business. Martina earned her Master's of Business Administration from the State University of New York at Buffalo and a PhD in Consumer Finance from The Ohio State University. Martina's research interests focuses on individual and household financial decision-making, financial behavior analysis, and financial education policy. Dr. Pong is actively engaged with a professional organization in the financial service industry. She has served as the president in multiple leadership roles on the board of Central Ohio FPA. She is also serving on the Education Outreach Board of the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors and a member of the Society of Financial Service Professionals. I know that I'm excited to work with Dr. Martina. She and I have been colleagues for quite some time, and I can truly tell you that the information she's going to share with you today will help you to build a stronger financial future for your children. Dr. Pong, it's in your hands. And before she gets started, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you may put them in the chat and we'll address them. I want to confirm, would you like to address the questions as we're going, or would you like to do it at the end?
At the end would be better.
At the end. So if you put your questions in the chat, we'll definitely get to that. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Bowen, for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody. Very happy to see you all here. I'm glad that we get an opportunity to talk about how do you save for your children or your grandkids' education. So my name is Martina Pong, as Dr. Bowen's introduced. I have been teaching at Franklin for 16 years, and I am passionate about having people accomplish their financial goals. And these are very practical topics, and I am hoping that you can benefit a lot from attending today's session. So here's what we're going to talk about today. I hope this to be an interactive session, meaning that even though I have a lot to cover, if you have any comments, feel free to put in the chat box, or I may throw some questions at you, and you can all communicate with each other in the chat box. So what we'll be talking about today is why does college matter? We've heard people talk about, well, I'm not sure if it's worth it to attend college. So we're going to take a look at the impact from college. And then we're going to look at how much does it really cost for sending your child to college nowadays. We know it's gone a lot. The tuition rate has gone a lot, but exactly by how much? So we're going to take a holistic view of the college cost for now and also projected costs going forward. And financial aid is probably one of the most important source for people to fund their kids' education. So there are different types of financial aid. How are they different? What type of financial aid is the best for my children or my grandkids? And how is financial need calculated? So you know that when you apply for financial aid, eventually you'll be given a number. This is how much you can pay, and this is how much you are responsible for. This is how much you're eligible for the financial aid. So we're going to take a deep dive into the formula to see how exactly it is calculated. And knowing the formula will be very helpful. Why? Because you will know if there's any strategy that you can take or it applies to you so that you can plan ahead of time. FAFSA. I'm sure all of you have heard about FAFSA. That's the financial aid form that you fill out to apply for the aid, right? So we're going to take a look at the different types of forms you need to fill out and why is it important to fill out the form and if there's anything you need to pay attention to. How do you save? That's the key topic for today. How do you save? How do you invest your money for the next 18 years or however long your investment horizon is before your kids go to college? So let's first take a look at this question. What are your thoughts on going to college? Is it worth it? We know it's expensive, right? But is it worth it? So here is the historical data. So before I get started, I want to give credits to JP Morgan Chase report. They have done a tremendous job on putting together this comprehensive guide on college planning. So a lot of the data is taken from that report, but I'm going to walk you through and explain to you how do you utilize this knowledge and the historical data to apply for your investment plan for your kids. So here we are seeing an average annual earnings by highest education degree. So the blue bar shows the high school graduates, and the average annual earning is $45,000. In the middle one, the yellow one, is those who have a bachelor's degree. You can see that the pay is much higher than a high school graduate. And if your kids move on to professional degrees such as medical school, law school, your income significantly increase. So we do see a positive relationship between the level of education and also the lifelong earnings. And this is important because it's not just for 1 year. A college diploma really opens the door to a lifetime of higher earnings. And people's earnings, they don't significantly change from year to year. So the place you start is important. And of course, when you get more education, you get more skills, you get promoted, you may be qualified for a higher pay. But you're really looking at a lifetime of earnings. So that is why it's important to invest in the education. It also has something to do with the unemployment rate. So more education, less unemployment. If you look at this data, looking back at the 2 decades, back to year 2000, the past 20 years, there is up and down in the economic. And when there is economic downturn, we are seeing a higher unemployment rate. And this number really shows a difference in your level of education. So the blue area shows that the unemployment rate is in average 5.8% for someone without a high school degree. And that number goes down to 4% for someone who graduated from high school but do not have a college degree. And the unemployment rate went down to 3% for the past 20 years. For someone who has some college level credits but didn't finish college. And for someone who has graduated from college or they went to grad school, their unemployment rate went further down to 2.1%. So we do see there is there's a benefit for going to college because the unemployment rate tends to be lower. So how expensive is college tuition? Well, we do see that, well, if you look at this, all of the costs have gone up, right? Everything goes up by the years. And this is the data from back to 1983. all the way till the end of last year, 23. So in the past, again, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, almost 40 years, we do see a huge rise in all of the cost. And the two highest one, number one is tuition, no surprise. It went up by 873%, followed by another one that we are not surprised at, which is the medical cost. Yeah, that one also went up by 472%. So for tuition rate, there is an average of nearly 6% increase every year. So for those of us who have kids, we are concerned, we are worried because every year I don't get a 6% increase in my salary, do I? And I don't think a lot of you do either. We may get 2%, 3%. If the economy is good, you get more, but you don't constantly get 6% increase across the board. But that's the reality for tuition. Okay, so this one is interesting. Let's take a look at the 4-year college cost. Okay, and this is just the tuition rate. This number does not include the room and board and all the other expenses. So let's start from the green bar. If my kid wants to attend, I live in the state of Ohio, so I'm going to use the Ohio State University as an example. So if my kid is going to attend OSU, which is an in-state public school, if my kid is, say, 18-year-old, a senior this year, so I'm expecting to pay $103,000, 572 in total for the tuition. What about a family with a kid who is still in first grade? So if you look at age 6, if you look at the green bar for age 6, with a first grader at home, you are expecting to pay $186,000 by the time the kids go to college, if the kid chooses to go to Ohio State as an example. What if my kid, actually this does happen to my daughter, that she said, well, I don't want to go to Ohio State because we live so close to Ohio State. I want to go out of state. I want to be independent. Okay, fine. So if you look at the public school, out of state public school, even though it's a public school, we're paying the out of state tuition. So let's take a look at age 15. How about age 15? Take a look at the yellow bar. So if my kid is in high school, age 15, who is a sophomore, he's interested in going to University of Michigan as an example, or maybe let's use another example. How about University of Iowa, just as an example? The average cost would be for the public out of school 4 years for a 15-year-old, I need to expect to spend $200,000 for my child. But if you have a child who is only 3 years old, I'm looking at an age 3 yellow bar. I'm looking at $375,000 that I need to save for the 4 years of college. Some of your kids are really, really smart and they get admitted to some private prestigious schools, such as on the West Coast, Stanford, or in the Midwest, maybe University of Chicago, or on the East Coast, Cornell, or on Yale. So those are wonderful, wonderful, prestigious schools. They are private and they are very expensive. We are really looking at each year on the cost of attendance will be close to $90,000 to $100,000 for everything, including tuition, room and board, and all the other expenses. So if you have a child who's doing so well and who get admitted to those schools, that's a expensive private school. And what is the projected cost for your child? So let's take a look at age 18 again, the blue bar. So if your kid is going to, say, Stanford, we're looking at No, a total of close to $250,000, and that is just the tuition, and that's probably higher because this is just the average. And if you have a newborn, for example, if you have a newborn or if you have a grandchild who was just born last year or this year, you're looking at more than $500,000. That is the projected total cost for a kid who will attend college in 18 years. So literally, you are saving for probably the equal amount of a down payment or sometimes more than that, right? The value of a house. Then you may say, well, you know what? I actually like the community college option. So it's parents, it's really important for you to look at what type of universities and college are the best fit for your kids. Because sometimes it's not just about money, sometimes it's about your kids may be maybe a great fit for a big campus such as Ohio State University, big classes, they are very self-disciplined, they can handle it. Whereas some children, they prefer working in a small class size. They prefer getting more attention from their professors. So everybody's learning style is different. Some people like to live in a big city, whereas some students prefer like a closed campus where they spend most of the time on the campus. And some students, they enjoy working during the day. They wanted to go to the community college. And I'm sure people are familiar with the community college. I'm going to use Columbus State, which is the biggest community college in my city because I live in Columbus. So Columbus State is a 2-year community college, which is I'm sure every city has a multiple community college, and we do see many students complete their first 2 years or 3 years in the community college, and they do a 3+1 or 2+2 program. We at Franklin, we have a lot of students like that. They save the money in the first 2 years. They take a lot of classes from their community colleges, and they transfer to a 4-year college to complete their degree. So that will help you save a significant amount for your college tuition. So let's take a look here. The 2 years at community college cost in state at Ohio, you're looking at the blue bar and you're comparing with a 4 years of college. So you do see a big gap. Okay, no matter what age you're looking at, there is a huge gap and you're saving about 40%. So when you choose the type of schools, you really need to, I would say this. So when parents start taking their kids onto the campus tours, yes, it's important to look at the campus, their facility, and what kids really care about. They like to see the dorm. They really care about what the dorm is like, what the cafeteria looks like. But you also want to understand their financial package, which we will cover later. So this gives you an idea of how much to expect to pay for different types of schools based on how old your kids are currently. Does everyone graduate within 4 years? Surprisingly, less than 50% of the students can graduate within 4 years. And we do see that students, they may fail classes, they may do other activities, they may work, they take a gap year, whatever it is. They less than half of the students body will graduate within 4 years. In fact, we're seeing a difference in the financial numbers depending on how many years it takes your students to graduate. So if your students graduate in 5 years, there is another close to 30% cost because you still need to pay for the tuition and you may retake some classes or you still need to pay for room and board and everything. Then if you delay by 2 years, then there's the cost is increased by 58%. So then there is a cost if you don't graduate within 4 years. And that is why some students prefer to start taking classes in high school. In the state of Ohio, we have the CCP. We do have many students who come to Franklin taking the CCP classes so that they can just finish some of the college credits while they are still in school. And when they go to their college, they may graduate within 3 years. So that's another way to save on the tuition for your students. So for those students who are, planning to graduate in 4 years, as parents, just be mindful that when you apply for a school, it's important to look at their graduation rate. Okay, the school all have those datas. So you can ask for, you can look online, what is the graduation rate for the type of store, the exact school that your kid is thinking about? Because kids are impacted by their peers as well. Young people, it's just that if the school has a very high graduation rate, the students are more likely to graduate on time. So that's another factor to consider. Okay, so financial aid. And parents may say, well, I'm gonna apply for financial aid because that's what that's what most people get, right? We cannot afford all 100% of the tuition and room and board. Financial aid is definitely helpful. However, what you need to pay attention to is financial aid doesn't aid 100%. Okay, and a lot of the times financial aid is not free. So if you look at the top blue bar, 50% of the families will get grants. And grants are something that you do not pay back. But the average amount, as you could see, close to $6,000. And there is also scholarship. Yeah, so your kid may be very smart and they're doing well academically and they qualified for merit-based scholarship. And the average amount is close to $8,000. It is not, again, 100% of the cost of attendance. And those little bars in the middle shows you the percentage of total cost paid by the grants and scholarships. So it's not high. It's not even up to 30%, just to give you an idea. So these are all available funding sources, but they will only cover a portion of your cost of attendance. Okay, this is an interesting one. You can put it in the chat box. How many of your kids play sport? And what sport do your kids play? My kids play tennis, and my son also likes to play baseball. So the interesting thing is, I oftentimes heard parents talk about my kids want to play sports in college, and I think it's perfect. It's wonderful if your kids can qualify to play on the varsity team for their school because it's very competitive, right? It is more competitive than the academic scholarship or the academic grants that your kids may be eligible for. So when the parents are planning on sending their kids to college to play sport, the reality is I often tell parents, it's not as easy as you think to be qualified for the athletic scholarships. And it's not because your kids is not good. It's just the spots are very limited. The team of I'll use tennis for an example. How many people are there on a tennis team? Probably most is 10, and that needs to be divided by 4 years. So maybe a couple spots for each class, right? And they may have some extra spots, but doesn't mean that you one will be qualified, two will be qualified for the money. So if your goal is for your kids to get athletic scholarships, you want to plan ahead. You want to think very hard if that's a strategy, if that's the right strategy for your students. If your kids are talented, are you seeing your kids getting a lot of awards or matches? They do well in the matches. So these are just very hard fact. if you look at the numbers here, I'm gonna use Division 2 as an example. So let's take a look at the green bar. If your kids play in a Division 2 school, and if it's a son, so let's take a look at the male on $7,415. If your son goes to a public school, the cost will be total of 24, probably for the tuition. So they do cover some part of your cost, but not all. If your kids go to a private college, then the cost each year would be 56,000, and you can see how much the scholarship will cover for an athlete student. So this is something for you to consider. And I also want to remind parents of all the investments that you put to develop an athlete. I know it's a lot of money. Like you becoming a competitive athlete doesn't happen overnight. It needs to start when the kids are very young, right? You sign up for the public group lessons. You very likely, if you want to do really well, you'll get a private coach, let alone all the equipments you need to buy and the shoes, the racket or whatever, all the equipments it takes for the sports they are involved in. So it's just a long-term investment. And when the kids are when they do really well, they are competing, they need to go to matches, tournaments. So that means you need to spend time and money on travel, hotels, paying for the match fees. And all of these add together, it's a huge investment over the years. Does that guarantee athletic scholarships? We don't have the answer, but this is for you as the parent to really think hard and determine if this is something, if this is the right path for your child. On the other hand, for the academic scholarships, yeah, there are a lot of academic scholarships if your kids do well on their tests, the exams. I'm not saying they will cover everything, but if you just compare athletic scholarships versus academic scholarships, it's not as competitive when you compare these two for the academics. But if your kids can get the athletic scholarships, congratulations, it's wonderful. And yeah, it's just very hard. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at the financial aid application process. Okay, so I'm sure that all of you are familiar with the FAFSA form. The FAFSA stands for Free Application for Financial Aid, which is a federal form. It is applied through fafsa.ad.gov, and the application is completely free. So when it comes to the FAFSA, I get a lot of questions from parents, and the number one question that I get from most parents is, I'm making a decent income. So my income is high. I know that I'm gonna be qualified for FAFSA, so I'm not gonna apply. So I'm going to throw this question at the audience. Do you think that you should not apply? It's not worth spending the time filling out that form, the FAFSA form, if my income is high? But I see a couple, yeah. I see a couple answers here still apply. Yes, and that would be my recommendation. And here is why. So first of all, you need to understand what FAFSA is for. It is it is like a ticket to get into the financial aid world, meaning that when you fill out the FAFSA form, you will be part of the pool to be considered for financial aid. So pay close attention here. To be considered, you're not being awarded yet, but you will be eligible to be considered for scholarship grants from the school or the federal student loan and the work study program. Without that form being filled and submitted to the school, they don't know that you need the money. You're basically not in the pool to be considered. So you're really giving up all of these opportunities to be considered. What if, yeah, you may have high income, but excuse me, what if the school have some grants and they really like your student, they like the students all of the portfolio, and they want to give you a little incentive to come to our school. But if without applying for the FAFSA, it's hard for them to decide to give you the grant that you may be qualified for. The other thing is the work study program. Many students, they work part-time on campus during college, and I'm sure some of the parents have done that when you were in college. And this is a wonderful federal program because the students can, one, work on campus. It's safe. As parents, you don't need to worry about them working outside campus. It could be cafeteria, it could be in the office of their department, it could be in the library. So there are a ton of job opportunities on campus. In a work study program, it's a collaborative program. It is a partnership between the federal government and the university. So how it works is that your student who work on campus will be paid, and half of the funding will be coming from the federal government. So it's sort of like a financial aid, and the other half will be paid by the school. So it's a win-win. The federal government only will be responsible for half of the wage, whereas the university will save some money on the administrative, like hired students. And it's also great for the students to get some work experience. But back to the FAFSA form, you have to have the FAFSA form submitted in order for your students to be considered for all of this, including the work study program. The other reason that I recommend parents always fill the FAFSA form is that you never know what's going to happen in life. So in my household, both me and my husband work. And when my son applied for school, we're thinking, well, our income is good. We can afford this. We're not going to bother applying for submitting that form. Next year, what if I lose my job? Or what if I get involved in a car accident and I cannot work? Anything could happen. So in that case, my son is already in college, right? And I did not file the form. So he's basically not in the pool to be considered. Now, had I applied for the FAFSA, had I submitted that, my record is in there. The worst scenario is when I submitted, we're not qualified for anything. Okay, that's fine, but they have my record. But now, after a few months, I need financial aid. I can go back to the financial aid office and talk to the school. Hey, our family income has significantly decreased because of my injury. My son needs help from the financial aid. So can you reevaluate our income, household income, and give us a new financial package? And most likely the schools will be happy to do that. So having the form in place will save you so much time and hassle when you do need access to financial aid or when you are become qualified for the aid. The other question that people have is, or concern rather, is I don't know if I should apply for FAFSA. It's all personal information. I don't want the school to know my finance. Well, let me just say on the FAFSA, it belongs to the federal government, and IRS also belongs to the federal government. So they have the information. Yeah. And on the FAFSA form where parents need to link, you give them permission to access to the 1040 form to your last year's to your tax return in the past, right? So they are talking to each other. They're not looking at your privacy. It's all the information is with the federal government. So the recommendation is do not have the misconcept that there's no need to file, and I encourage everyone to file regardless. Okay, so there is another form called College Scholarship Service. The abbreviation is CSS Profile. This one is not for all of the schools. There are selected elite schools, mostly private schools, close to 400 schools that will require that form. And on this form, they ask more specific questions regarding your assets, income, etc. And these are based on the institution's formula. And this one is not free, but you need to check the schools that you are going to apply for. If they have the CSS profile, if they require that, you better submit it, because again, you will be considered for the grants or scholarship if you are in the pool. And this one is a little different. The deadline for FAFSA is it's really, you can start as early as October 1st, and the better you submitted, the sooner you submitted it, the better. The reason why it's not 100% first come, first serve. But you need to understand that universities have this limited amount of money and grant and everything. So when they see the application comes in, they started evaluating. And that evaluation process, it's ongoing. It's not like I'm waiting for all of the applications to come in until next March, then I will start evaluating. It doesn't work that way. It's a rolling process. So the earlier you can get your stuffing, including your FAFSA form, the better, because you don't want to wait until they give all of the money out till spring next year. But for CSS profile, there is a different deadline for every school. So you just need to check the deadline for different schools. So most important formula is here. How do I know how much am I qualified for financial aid? Here is the formula published by the government. And basically, we are looking at the total blue box, total cost of the school, which includes tuition, all of the room and board, and books and personal expenses, etc. And the purple box is the financial aid eligibility. An easier way to explain this is how much can I get? Okay, how much can I get? How much am I qualified for? In the middle box, the green one, is really how much can I contribute? They have a fancy term called a student aid index. But an easy way to understand is basically you take how much it costs to go to this school and how much can I support my kids. That will come down to how much money that I am eligible for the financial aid. Right? So that's how the financial aid is calculated. Now, just want to reiterate that cost of attendance minus how much you can support, that comes down to how much you are qualified for. So what is our goal here? Our goal is, well, cost of attendance, there's nothing you can do about it, right? That's decided by the school. The orange box, well, how much you can get, that's not something that I can decide either. So the only thing that I have a maybe tiny bit of control is the middle box, which is the amount that I can contribute to my students' education. So our goal is really, we want the SAI number to be as low as possible. That way you can get as much as financial aid as possible. Make sense? All right, so knowing that our goal is to minimize your SAI, now let's go back to see, how do you calculate SAI? What is SAI? SAI is how much we can contribute, right? So we're really looking at the parents' income, parents' assets, plus student income and student assets. And they are all weighted differently. And that is important, because if you in your household, if everything is saved under you as parents, let's take a look at the parental assets first. Okay, so the weight is only 5.64%. And that includes all of your assets, such as if you have any investment accounts, you invest in stocks, mutual fund, bonds, all of those will count toward your assets. if you have assets saved in, money saved in 529, that's also counted toward your assets, the parental assets. Checking account, savings account. If I am a business owner, I have my own company, and the net worth of my business is also part of the assets. For those of you who have farms, the value of your farm is also part of the assets. And if you have any rental properties, that's also included. And also 22 to 47%, that's the weight for parents' income. Okay. If you look at the students part, the big difference for the student income, there's a threshold, but above that, 50% of the student income will be calculated toward how much they can contribute because you have an income. And if you have been saving diligently for your students and the assets are saved under your students' names, such as their CD, checking, saving, and all of these accounts, the value of the student's asset will be multiplied by 20%, which is much higher comparing with the 5.64% if the assets are saved under parents. All right. So knowing how they weigh the assets and income, so you can think about some strategies. For example, if you saved a lot of money and a lot of investment under your kid's name, it's more likely that you will get less financial aid. And for the income part, if you are both, you and your partner, you are on a W-2, so there's nothing much you can do. However, if you are business owners, you probably want to adjust your income, which you can if you are a business owner, so that your income is not as high for the year that's being used to calculate the financial aid. If you have an investment account and the market is doing well and you have earned a lot of money in your investment account and you're thinking about, I want to sell some of it. So the timing of selling your gains is very important. And let's take a look at the timing. So we went through this formula. Oh, before I look at the timing, let's take a look at this. So this is an estimate of your student aid index. Okay, so how does this work? If your household income is $150,000, okay, and your assets is zero, assuming that your family have no assets. And when we talk about assets, we talk about all of those assets, but there are some of the assets that are excluded from the formula. For example, your home, the home that you live in, not your rental property, but your primary residence, that's excluded. And any of your retirement accounts, that is excluded, which is wonderful because the purpose of retirement account is for saving for your own retirement. So the government wants you to save for your retirement, not to use the money from your 401k to pay college education. So those are excluded from your assets. So assuming that your household income is 150,000 and the assets is zero, your SAI, which is how much that you're estimated to pay, is 25,711, meaning that the government thinks that, oh, Martina, based on your household income of 150,000 and you have no assets, I have a home, I have retirement account, but that's it. I don't have an investment account and anything else, then I am considered to be able to pay for $25,711 for my kids' education. That's what this table is about. So let me ask you, if your household income is at the bottom of the gray boxes, if your household income is $250,000 and you have a total amount of assets of $300,000. So we're really looking at the highest income level and the highest asset level on this table, in this table. So the number, the SAI for you is close to $75,000, meaning that you are considered to be able to help your kid with $75,000 a year for the cost of attendance. That is why you want your numbers to be low. All right, so this is the timing that I was talking about. So we talked about how they use your income, right, to decide how much you're eligible for. Then the question comes down to, well, which year's income are we looking at? So I'm sure that some of you have a senior in your home. If you have a senior this year, okay, and you are probably, you already start applying for college, and on your FAFSA form, it will access to your tax return. And the return that they are looking at is not this year. This year is 2024. This is the year that you are applying, but we are not looking at this year's income. Why? Because this year is not over yet, right? You probably will submit everything by November 1st, and you don't have a final number of your total income. That is why we'll look at the year prior to the year you apply for. So for those of you who are applying this year, you have a senior at home, you're really looking at last year's return. You're looking at the last year's income, 2023 income. And I myself have a junior at home who will apply next year and who will attend college in academic year 2026. So my income this year, because I'm applying next year, and they won't look at my next year's income because by the time I submit everything, my income is not determined yet. So that is why we're looking at a year before, which is this year. So for me, having a junior at home, we're looking at 2024's tax return. So my income level for this year will be the base year for calculating my financial aid. And that is why it's important that I'm not going to increase my income this year. I shouldn't be selling anything profitable if I can wait. And if I'm a business owner, I probably, if I can, I may pay myself less, anything that I can do to minimize my income for this year. And if you have sophomore and freshman, you can just look at the numbers here, that these are the base years for you. All right. So here we want to take a quick look at Need Blind College. So what is the Need Blind College? So first of all, some parents will ask, well, will it hurt my kids' probability or possibility to get into the schools they like because we can't afford it or because our assets income are not as high? Well, I wouldn't say that financial factors are not at all important when it comes to admitting, because some schools do look at, when they compare with the similar cases, some schools may look at how possible can the family afford our education. But fortunately, not all the colleges consider financial factors when deciding which students that they want to accept. With the need blind colleges or need blind admissions, they evaluate only the non-financial parts of a student's application package. What is the non-financial part? It's like your GPA, your standard test results, your essays, recommendation letters, all the things that you've done. So they do look at all of those, and they do not look at your financial. And they want to make sure that they get the students that they really, really like, and then they will do their best to supplement the gap. However, it's not guaranteed. So it's not that you get admitted, you will get 100% supplements. They may support you a portion of your need, and as parents and students, you need to come up with the other half. But it wouldn't hurt to look at their need blind colleges. And if you Google the need blind colleges in the United States, there are some great websites where you can pull a comprehensive list of the schools where they show, hey, we are need blind. And this is the information that you and your students need to research on. So it's some people will hire a college counselor, a private counselor to help them. And I know that those can be pretty pricey. So if you want to do it on your own, which I highly recommend, you can just Google the list. And this is part of your campus tour, in my opinion, because you get a really good sense of what schools are need blind based. How do you save for kids? So this here we are saying that 52% of parents are paying their college and kids education from cash or checking account, savings account. I think this is pretty high, and it could possibly that people have not been able to save in the past years, and they when it comes to time to pay, it has to come out of their cash accounts. And 34% of the families they take money out of their retirement account, their 401k. The good thing is 33%, almost 1/3 of the families, they have money saved in 529, the education accounts, where 18% will take money out of their, again, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, those are retirement accounts, and 11% from their investment. So what we are saying here is that people have their different ways to fund your kids' education, but what is the best way? Are there better strategies? Okay. This one shows that if you use your money out of your own retirement account, okay, if you withdraw $10,000 from your retirement account, it will reduce your retirement account by $32,000. And it's just because if your money, had you not touched that money, it will continue to grow in your 401k. So it is going to be a huge impact on your retirement. Yet, I know people are parents are just they want to do the best for their kids. They really do. They want to, a lot of them have carried student loan all their life, and they finally paid off their student loan, their own student loan, and they're ready finally to take a break. Boom, here comes their kids' education. So they still want to do their best for their kids. They don't want their kids to go through a heavy student loan as they did when they have to struggle so much. So we understand that, but you also want to have a good balance between how are you funding your kids' education? Is it a good idea to take money out of your 401k? Are there better vehicles for you to save? So here is how much that you should be investing. So let's take a look at the public school in-state, okay, resident rate. So let's take a look at a newborn. For a total 4-year cost for a newborn, it will be estimated to be close to $250,000. So if you want to, the monthly investment to pay is, if you want to support 50% of that, then you will need to save a little bit more than $300. Versus if you wait until your child turns 15 years old, if you look at the age 15, the blue box under age 15, you will need to save $1,520 a month. So it's just like saving for your own retirement. If you start earlier, it will be much easier financially for you and your family. So that is why we encourage people to start as early as you can. So let's take a look at the blue bar. So if you start at birth when the child is born, or maybe you are a new grandparent, you are doing well, you have a good job, you are probably at the peak of your income, and you want to do something for your grandkids. So when the grandkids are born, you start investing for them. And if you do $100 a month, you can save close to $40,000 if you start at birth. versus, if you can save $500 a month, you will be able to save close to $200,000 for the kid. So you are really taking advantage of the time, and the younger the kids, the better. 529 is a very common and very popular tool to save. And the big difference is tax. So why is 529 popular? If you look at the blue bar, it's tax-free, meaning that the money that's going in is after-tax money. However, some states will give you state income tax back. So you need to look at the state specific tax rules for your state's 529. But say for the state of Ohio, which I reside in, we do have a state tax deduction for the money that we contribute to 529. So there is that, and also the money goes into the 529. It's just like your 401k. The money is not just sitting there, you're investing your money. You're picking the mutual fund, you're picking some investment option to let it grow over the years. And the best part is that the growth of that amount, when you use it for education, when the kids grow up, it is tax-free when you use it for qualified expenses, but qualified education expenses. So imagine if I don't put my money in 529, I put it in my Fidelity investment account. Okay. First of all, I don't get a state income tax deduction. And secondly, it'll still grow, and it probably will grow very well by by the time my kids grow up, I probably have 10% rate of return, which is wonderful. But when I take the money out, I will need to pay taxes. All of the earnings will be taxable. Comparing with the money that grows in your 529, you do not need to pay taxes if the money is used for education. So you do see a big difference between tax-free 529 and a taxable account. So the other thing that I want people to pay attention to is this is a new rule. I would say a big disadvantage of a 529 account in the past is that if my kids, they get 100% scholarship, my kids do not need to touch the money that I save in 529 for him or her at all. What am I going to do with that money? Well, the new rules is that you can roll over up to $35,000 for your kids' Roth IRA over the years if your kids do not need to use the money. Okay, I'll say that again. So in the past, if your kids don't need to use the money, then it wouldn't be qualified expenses. You can't enjoy the tax benefit. Now, the new rule is that you can roll over $35,000 for your kids' Roth IRA if your kids do not need to touch that money. So that is a wonderful benefit for the 529. The other thing that I want to remind parents is that when you open a 529 accounts for your kids, for your students, you do not want to open the account under their names. You can either open it under your names, or better yet, for grandparents, open it under grandparents' names. This is because, remember, we look at the formula. If the assets are under the kids, the weight is 20% versus 5.64% if the assets are under parent's name. So one, you definitely want to include place it under the parent's name, and the kids can be beneficiary. That's not a problem. The other thing is if the 29 is opened by the grandparents, then 0% is used for calculating the household assets. So I have a colleague who just had grandkids, and he was sharing with me how happy he is investing for his grandchildren in the 529. Then I think that's a very smart strategy, because when your grandchildren grow up, this money that you saved for them is not gonna be used to calculate the financial aid that how much they are responsible for paying out of pocket, because it's under the grandparents' name.
So Dr. Pong, I'm not certain how many more slides you have. This is Valencia, but we're
1202.
at,
Okay,
okay, we're at
thank you.
12:02, so I will I need to jump off the line, and Jenny's going to take over from here to
All right.
to ask the questions that are in the box. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Bowen.
Mhm.
So as we wrap up, here are the takeaways. Number one, you want to make sure you discuss the financial aspects with your students, because our kids, they're young, they're being taken good care of. A lot of them don't really see the huge financial impact from carrying a huge student loan on their shoulder, and it may delay a lot of things in their life later in life. So when you help your kids pick the schools, you also want to discuss the financial impact based on the school that they picked. The second thing is make sure you file all these FAFSA and CSA's profile forms. The third one is start investing as early as possible. Do not procrastinate. Procrastination is found to be the number one obstacle when it comes to money management. It's not that you don't know this, you know 529 is good, you know that it's important to save, but we are human beings and we tend to enjoy the immediate gratification. So you just need to see the how impactful, how powerful the saving is if you start saving when the kids is young versus waiting for 10 years and start saving later for your kids. The number four, monitor your income for the base year that we talked about, which is the year before your kids file their college application. Minimize your income for that year. At least don't increase your income if possible. Yeah. Like if you don't have to sell, say if you don't have to sell a rental property during that specific year, you can wait for another year. You know, you don't have to do that. The next one would be research the need-based schools. Need-based schools are the schools that they will look at your need, and some of them will try to support the demonstrated need. So it's important. And again, I can't stress enough, when you do the the campus tours, it's not just about looking at the buildings, the dorms. I would pay as equal attention to the financial policy, the financial packages that the school will provide the students, their graduation rates, is a need blind, is a need based, do they offer merit-based scholarships. Some schools do, but they may not be public information like published on their website. You just need to do a lot of digging, which takes time. So if you wait until August, September, if you have a senior, and this is probably your busiest time because you get all the essays to submit, and it's a long process. So all of these research needs to be done a few months prior to your application. So by the time you start your application process, you already have a list of your dream schools, or a list of schools that will be appropriate for your household income and how much you can afford to support your kids. All right, so thank you everybody. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to take a look at the chat box to see if there's any questions. And I know we passed 12 o'clock, so if you need to leave, please feel free. Jenny, do we
Yes.
have time to answer questions?
Yeah, we can stay on and answer questions. Again, thank you all for attending, and thank you, Dr. Pong, for some great information in regards to how we should go about and what we are looking towards for college. Luckily, I'm on my last one, and I don't have to worry about the saving part, except that I did just have a grandchild, so maybe I have to do that there.
All
But
right, yes, congrats.
So I think a few of the questions actually got answered throughout the chat. So there was one question in the beginning, when is a good time to apply? When your kid is a senior. We did put the FAFSA information in there. It looks like it's not open yet. And then one of our financial aid people here at Franklin said that it's not likely to be available until at least December 1st. So that question I think got answered okay. There was another question about saving for grandchildren and godchild. And a financial advisor had recommended either the Virginia 529 or the Utah 529. And they were wondering if there was any recommendations on how to evaluate which 529 plan might be best, or if a 529 plan is the most suitable option for this purpose. I think you kind of
Yeah.
answered that, but I didn't know if there was
Mhm,
anything you wanted to
mhm.
add.
Yeah, so sure. The 529s, they can vary from state to state. So some of the state, they are all operated by each state, but some of the state 29s, 529 can be used for students to go to school anywhere, whereas some are more limited to their state. So it really depends on the state that you are in and the state that your students live in. And I would really look into the state rules in order to decide and make a final decision on which states 529 to look at. And also, you want to look at the investment options because it's operated by the state. And a lot of times they will outsource with a custodian, such as Vanguard, for example. So it depends on the investment options that they have for the investors. The state of Ohio, I'm going to use Ohio as an example. Our state the list has expanded a lot over the years. It used to be very limited, and now we have a lot of investment options. So you want to look at if it's eligible for different states to use when the kids to go to college, and also the investment option varieties.
That's good to know, especially if your child or your grandchild lives in a different state than you do. What happens if they move to another state? If you started in the state that they were living in when they were, let's say, a newborn?
Yeah, then you will need to talk to the 529 administration, see what you can do. I'm sure that there are ways to use that money, but again, different states have different rules.
All right. Another question was, are parental income limits before or after taxes? I can't remember if you addressed that or not.
The parental income is before tax,
Before tax.
but your retirement account contributions is not included.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so meaning that for the year that you want to, for your tax-based year, you can maximize your retirement account in order to lower your income.
All right. There was another question about the 529s, and that was, can there be more than one beneficiary on a 529 account?
Yes, it can. And you can change the beneficiaries anytime.
Another 529 question was, if you have already opened a 529 in your child's name, can you go back and make a name change?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can change the name of the account.
All right. We are recording this, obviously. That was one of the questions. It will be up on our website probably within the next 2 weeks. It usually takes us about 2 weeks for the turnaround. And then someone else had also asked if you would mind sharing your slides. So if we can send those out if you want to. If not, they'll be able to watch the recording again.
Okay.
Oh, I have one more question. If tuition is due soon, does it make sense to open a 529?
No, because for 529, you really just want to take advantage of the long-term investment, just like your 401k. Money sitting in there, let it grow, you invested in it, let it grow for 3-5 years, so you'll have some earnings. But if you're paying, say, next semester, it doesn't make much sense to put it in there because you don't have the time to let it grow. Plus, when it gets really close to when it gets really close to when your kids are going to college, you probably don't want to go very aggressive anyway, because you can't afford losing the money. You can't lose your principal. You need the money right away. So even if you have money in your on 529, when it gets closer and closer to their 18-year-old, you probably will rebalance. And on the recommendation is to go more conservative so that at least you preserve what you already saved. And what just think about it as your 401k. As we get older, our portfolio will be more conservative because we don't want to lose the money that we saved all this time. We would rather have a little bit lower return, yet we want to avoid the risk. So same thing for 529. If you are very close to the last year, then you probably just go with a CD or something that will guarantee some level of interest so that you won't lose the money.
So there's no tax advantage then to putting it into the 529.
There is tax advantage, however, it's not much. So we did talk about a tax advantage from your contribution. And the example that I use is for the state of Ohio. So we have you can't have deduction for the federal income tax, which is the higher part. You can get federal, you may be in 22%, 24, but this is only for state tax deduction. And for the state of Ohio, it's 3.25% for my income level. So I can get for my contribution up to $4,000, I can get 3.25% multiplied by 4,000. That's how much. Again, I say I can save a couple $100, but that's all I can save from contributing this year.
All right. Got it. Perfect. Well, it doesn't look like I have any other questions. If we missed a question, if anybody wants to send an email, you can send that to leadershipcenter@franklin.edu and I can make sure that Dr. Pong gets that. Thank you
right.
so much. And
Thank
we're
you,
looking forward
everyone.
to our next session on the 22nd.
See you at the next
All right.
one.
See you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.